What a year. We can literally say that every year, but this year was truly a giant when it comes to the individuals and the narratives that defined it. We are in a reflective mood here for the holidays on Coffee and Curveballs. We probably should call it eggnog and ephases for the season, right, Shooter? But anyway, I'm Cory McCartney. That's Shooter Hunt. And Shooter, I know you've got a list and you've checked it twice, and we present the players and storylines that define 2023.
What an incredible year, from the draft prospects to the uncommitted underclassmen to the next wave of youth guys to All-American games. There was so much going on in this 23.
Unlike those ball drops and countdowns, we are starting at the top. And for what he has meant to players and leveraging their platforms, and for his going with a third overall pick in this summer's MLB draft, no one Shooter loomed larger in 2023 than Max Clark.
No, Max Clark redefined the amateur baseball space. His time in high school, just the way he was able to take his game to the next level throughout, continue to have that spotlight on him, but still shine, was ultra impressive from him, whether it was at the Super 60 and the national stage or internationally with Team USA. And then ultimately going third overall, the first high school selection in that draft. He really redefined what it means to be that amateur baseball player in this new social media age.
Clark, by the way, already has vaulted up to 15th in MLB Pipeline's top 100 prospects, one spot ahead of another of 2023's biggest name, and that was the fifth pick in the draft, Walker Jenkins. Next up, Blake Walters out of Illinois was a Super 60 sensation, winds up going with the 44th overall pick in the draft by the Royals. And Shooter, this was just a great story for 2023.
There have been some sensational stories coming out of the Super 60. We look back at Henry Davis, a first overall pick who was there, Jared Kelenic, Alec Thomas, Braden Montgomery this year. But what Walters did might be my number one Super 60 moment of all time. Local kid from Southern Illinois. It was actually one of our scouting directors, Diego Solares, who sent a note late. Hey, this kid Walters starting to make some jumps. We loved him. Basketball player who was making those strides. We were locked in on closely. And I always like to look at luck as being when opportunity meets preparation. Blake Walters showed up to the Super 60, getting that opportunity, and he was prepared for it. Hops on the mound. A lot of the scouts in attendance had no idea who he was. Oh, by the time he stepped out of there, they were already ready to ask him some questions. And the spring just continued with him, making those advancements, running his fastball up close to 100 miles an hour until ultimately being selected 44th overall by the Royals. Nearly 100-mile-an-hour fastball, but it's that slider that's going to continue to take him to new heights. And I can't say enough about him as a human being, a leader, and a baseball player, obviously. We're expecting the world out of him. And the Super 60, while it was a jumping off moment for him, it's only going to get better for him in the future. Blake Walters was outstanding.
If Clark was just the beginning for players marketing themselves differently, I think we've seen also a change with this reclassification trend, because 3 of 2024's top 8 players, Cam Caminiti, Connor Griffith, and Noah Franco, all reclass, as did Quentin Young in 2025. What do you make of this trend intensifying, and how is it altering the recruiting and draft landscapes?
I think we've been locked in at prep baseball recently, especially with these age and that relative age theory and the way the teams have dived into their draft analysis and algorithms with regards to age. These guys have gotten so good early on that they've seen that there is a value to them being younger. So jumping up that class and eyeing their careers, especially. But Caminiti, Noah Franco, Connor Griffin, amongst others in this 23 or 24 class, made that jump. And it's not so much of a jump anymore. It's just kind of a shuffle because they are so talented. But I think it's eyeing that draft. It's eyeing getting their career started, because at the youth level, just the way that the coaches and the lessons and especially the travel programs and the games that they're playing, they're ready to go. This has never been seen before in the last 20, 30 years. These players are just way better, way earlier. And those 3 at the top are kind of leading the charge in some classes behind. You talked about Quentin Young, who was a 26, up classes to 25, moves right into the forefront of a potential early day one, early first round type consideration in that draft. It's something we're going to have to eye very closely, and we already are looking at the rankings in the 26 and 27 classes. Some guys will definitely be reclassing.
So for prep baseball and Lake Point sports for that matter, there are a few events that define the schedule, like the future games. And I'm not sure that in my time around the event, I've seen two players that use that stage to cement their national standing, quite like this year's MVPs. That's most valuable pitcher, Eston Simpson, and most valuable player, Danny Wallace.
Yeah, Aston Simpson, who really used this as that jumping off point where he looks the part of a future Friday night ace. I think the upside's clearly evident there. He's got the frame, the loose arm, the full arsenal, and I loved what he did the night. Especially when you have Team Georgia at your home field, you're at Lake Point, you get the bright lights against a big lineup, and he came out and shut down that lineup. But then Danny Wallace, kid from Nebraska, right? You're thinking of the Cornhuskers. Oh, this is just country strong. Everything he did was firm, athletic, and hard. Ball jumped off the bat. I think he broke a barrel. His bat actually broke. That's how hard he hit the ball there. Then he hops on the mound. He's into the low 90s. And just talking to coaches throughout, we go through our MVP setting, and there were so many big time performances and some major coaches coming up. I don't know who else could be better than this kid because he's been outstanding. Danny Wallace utilized that to just continue rising up our ranks, and he could have a huge breakout summer next year, eyeing that 25 draft as well.
Yeah, Simpson, 2 dominant innings against Indiana. He's now a Clemson committee. Told me after the future games that it truly changed his life. He was overwhelmed by the attention that came after that performance, and we hit that August 1st date for coaching contact. Meanwhile, Danny Wallace, I mean, he put it all on display. Had some buzz, Nebraska's top-ranked player when I talked to him ahead of the future games. But then he hits that stage. He goes 3 for 3 in one game, a home run, a double, then gets 3 Ks on the mound. Guy was just an absolute monster. Turning our attention from one crown jewel event to another for prep baseball, 2023 also saw the inaugural All-American game, one with a different spin as the 24s face the 2025s in Milwaukee's All-American Family Field. If you want to talk about defining players and storylines, there were plenty in this event, and it began with an MVP performance out of Wake Forest commit Josh Hammond.
Yeah, Josh Hammond was sensational from the workout day. We don't know if he's going to be a better position player or pitcher because he did it all. Double in the game, really hard hit ball, and then was lights out on the bump, looking like Craig Kimbrell out there, just making guys look silly with that slider. But it was an outstanding event with having the 24s and 25s, the ability to change the game like that and identify talent so early on. It's really attributes how much work our ground forces do. Each state, we're hyper local. We bring it to the national level. And this All-American game kind of was the culmination of all the hard work that we do from the future games, from the Rising Star series. It brings all that talent together. But I thought the 25s were outstanding. I think when we look back at it, probably have at least I'm going to take a hot take here, Cory, but they'll have at least 5 first rounders coming out of that in next year's draft. We'll see if there's more. When turn the page next summer, we might be able to up that up or move that up a little bit. But those guys were outstanding at that young level, especially the infielders. We had, I think, 3 of the top 4 infielders there. Ethan Holiday, kind of leading the charge there as the #1 player in the class. But the 24s were also outstanding. We're looking at Carter Johnson, Tyler Bell. I think those are going to be 2 huge names looking ahead to July of 2024. They're kind of, no, I don't want to call them secrets there, but I think a lot of teams are going to really crave their bat the ball abilities, especially the upside as those frames continue to mature.
Yeah, Bell and Johnson, I mean, I know they both ended up making the home run derby finals. We got to see them at the play, but I thought that show that they put on at the field at the workout day was just absolutely next level. Just seeing the smoothness, the absolute electric in the field. And they're obviously both SEC commits. So are some other 2024s. They're bound from that conference. They had some standout weekends in game and during the workout. Cam Caminetti, Cale Fountain, Braden Krenzel. What did you see from them in Wisconsin to set the stage for what's coming ahead for them this summer with the MLB draft?
I think that trio for us internally was a set that we were really pushing in on. Hey, these guys are going to be really good, and we anticipate huge springs, them going into July. We're hoping the best for them. Caminetti, for a guy who's had the spotlight up classes, everybody knows who he is, this left-hander. he is calm, cool, and collected. He has the poise and moxie of a guy who you'd want to take as an organization very early on. And the upside's clearly there as a two-way athlete, and it's going to run it up there high on the mound. Then you go Cale Fountain, who, again, as good of a kid as it gets, very humble, but also 6'5", 225, and an absolute freak. As powerful a bat from the right side as there is in this class. It's light tower power, and you're talking about somebody who can continue to excel in coming years as he gets those advanced at bats against high level arms. And then Braden Krenzel is a personal favorite of mine. Another one on the mound, you walk away in a class that's kind of craving pitchers. Who are the starters in this class? Hey, this guy, Braden Krenzel, just goes out there with 3 pitches. He puts it where he wants. Nothing speeds him up, even against the best players in the country. And I'm expecting the world from him. And I would almost expect that he has a chance to sneak in that back half of the first round, if not that ever craved right-handed high school pitcher 30 to 40 range.
Fountain, by the way, the top exit velo during the workout, 105.8 miles per hour. And think about this. You mentioned the size, 6'5", 225. He ran a 60 at 6.7. So that's the kind of stuff that gets those NFL and college football recruiters a little bit hyped up.
Yeah, get Coach Rule him on the defensive end side.
That's right. So our attention for the Prep Baseball All-American game now turns to the 2024 game, and that's going to mean the 2025s squaring off against the 2026s.
And I can't wait to get out this winter, all the preseason, all state events, and then again in the spring, identifying that talent for this game, going through the summer as we make those decisions for a big, big game with the 25s versus 26s. And 25 is going to try to look to win their second straight, but I'm sure the 26s are not going to let them do it easily.
So that's all your appetizer, because if we're going to look back, then we have to set our gaze in the future. I thought that I had sent you a crystal ball for this segment, but apparently it got lost in the mail during this busy shipping season. So Shooter, give us a list of what you're watching for in 2024.
When you're looking at the MLB draft, I don't think it's going to go as planned, especially from the prep side of things. College, some really talented college position players and pitchers, but prep wise, this is probably as little settling as we've had. There's no Bobby Witt Jr. where it's like, this is the dude, this is the cornerstone, this is the guy we're building our franchise around and hoping that he turns into that dude. I don't think that's there quite yet. And you're going to hear a lot of names. Usually when we put out our draft rankings with these prep guys, hey, 1 through 5 are here, then we have another tier, and then this tier. I think that first tier is easily 20, 30 deep, where these guys will run into a collection, and what usually happens in this draft, the MLB draft, is it's a lot of accounting by teams. Who can we get? How can we stockpile talent? Who will take a haircut here? Who will take a little bit less? So a lot of that's going to be going on, even more so with this year with regards to the prep guys. So I'd expect to hear a lot of names throughout the spring get thrown out there. Hey, we're getting a lot of buzz, a lot of helium here. Get ready for the word helium to be said a lot about these prep guys.
Well, 2023 has been a blast, and we cannot wait to see what 2024 has in store. So make sure you stick with us all year long here on Coffee and Curveballs. Until next time, I'm Cory McCartney. That's Shooter Hunt, and we'll see you at the Diamond.